Hey everybody, it's Rob. I'm back. I'm going to do another Offsec Proving Grounds walkthrough. This time we're doing a machine called Slort. It is intermediate and it is a Windows machine for worth 20 points. And I have to say, I had a lot of fun with this machine, and I actually am kind of amazed that I was able to figure this all out by myself for the most part. I mean, it was pretty interesting in the sense that my weakness is by far is like SQL injection, any kind of command injection and stuff like that. And that comes into play in a sense in this walkthrough. And it to me, it shows that I'm making progress, which I'm happy about. I'm still far from ready for the OSCP, but I'm heading in the right direction. So without further ado, you can see I have Offsec's VPN running. I have Slort's IP address right here. And we ran the old Nmap scan. So a lot of interesting stuff came back. I'll be honest with you, what I didn't have a lot of time this week. So I ended up getting my foothold, an initial user account the first day that I messed with this. Didn't take very long. I would say maybe an hour or so, just because I had to figure out how to exploit the exploit. And then I finished it up the next day and was able to privesc to get the proof.txt. So day one, immediately I saw FTP, my eyes lit up. I was like, oh, I'm going to definitely zero in on that, right? Have a bunch of other stuff, including a MySQL database, some HTTP on a few ports. There's a bunch of good stuff to look at. One of the things I will mention in a shameless plug for one of my previous videos is the database, you can't connect to it. You get that error where this IP address is not authorized. So it's probably a locally bound database. And if you go back and you look at my previous videos on port forwarding and pivoting, I do a video on Chisel that talks specifically about MySQL and how to use Chisel to connect to locally bound databases. But anyway, I digress. I messed around with FTP. I was not able to really do anything. I'm like, that FTP is there for a reason, but I wasn't able to figure out why. I tried to look for some exploits for it. Couldn't find anything that kind of lined up with what I needed. So I moved on to the web servers. And if you go to the IP address, it's running a XAMPP server. So it's like the Windows equivalent of a LAMP box, right? With Linux, Apache, MariaDB, and PHP. This is running the Windows version of that kind of stack. And, you know, I saw on 443 and also on 8080, this pretty much the same exact thing. So I started with 4443. And I said to myself, well, let's do some dir busting. So I'll show you how to do that if you've never done it before. I'm a big proponent of GoBuster. I think it's really powerful. I don't even use half of the capabilities of it. I mean, there are so many things that this tool can do. For the most part, I use it for directory busting, and it really works well. So let me just make sure that's the right IP address, 131.53. It is. So we're going to hit enter on that. We're just using the dir b common text for the word list. This tool really is one of the better ones, in my opinion. You can follow redirects. There's just so many things that you can do with this. So right away, we see a dashboard. We see images. PHP MyAdmin is a 403. Okay, and then we see site, which is always interesting, right? If it follows like the WordPress type methodology, that is something we definitely want to check out. So what I did was came over here, got rid of this, typed in site, and immediately this website came up. And my eyes immediately focused on this right here. This, I've seen them do this before where you can either do some kind of injection, traversal attack, or something, right? So as soon as I saw that pop up, I immediately said, well, let's just try and put some kind of character in there and see how the web app responds. So I did the old single quote. If you don't know SQL injection, single quote is something you definitely want to try to see if an application is vulnerable to SQL injection. So I did the single quote, and I immediately got this error, which mentions file inclusion. So it's looking for files somewhere else on the server, right? So next thing that comes to mind is, well, if it's looking for files somewhere else, can we point it to files that are remote? So I said, well, let's put a little PHP hello world together and host it on our attack box and see what happens. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go echo, and I have it actually typed out right here. All I did is I went on Google and I said PHP hello world one-liner, and it came back with this. So all I'm doing is echoing that to a file by using this redirection character called test PHP. Okay, so we're going to hit enter, and if we do an ls, we should now have test PHP here. So now we have to host that file on a web server. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I love Python HTTP servers, so there we go, right? So now, to test for remote file inclusion, we go back to the website, we get rid of this single quote, and we literally put the path to the address in here, so of our server. So HTTP, our IP address, which is 192.168.45.181, port 8000, and then we want to do test PHP. And if it comes back and it says hello world, we can execute a PHP reverse shell on this, okay? And it does. It immediately pulls our PHP file in and displays hello world, okay? So the next thing we're going to do, and actually I close this and go back to the one we were at because I need to kill this web server session, okay? We're going to go to tools, and I have a directory called shells. And I'm going to save you a little heartache. I tried PHP Monkey's reverse shell, which is the default PHP reverse shell that comes with Kali. It did not work. I could not get it to work. So what I did do is search for reverse shells on the interwebs, and this one came up. And you can use either one of these. It should work. When you look at the code, it'll tell you it works with Windows. Okay. So that's what I did. I just basically copied that code and used that reverse shell rather than PHP Monkey's reverse shell. Now, when you go in there, let's just take a quick peek at it. Nano PHP rev shell PHP. So I named it differently because I didn't want. I usually keep PHP Monkeys in this directory as well. You have to come in here and somewhere you're going to have to enter the IP address of the machine that you want to connect back to. So just scroll through here. It's right here. On my machine, it's on line 177. Okay. You just change that to the IP address of your attack machine. Okay. Control X. So now that we have that PHP rev shell ready to go, we got to do a couple of things here. First and foremost, we need to host a web server here. So you know exactly what we're going to do. Python 3, 8000, right? Then we're going to actually bring up the this website here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little smaller so you can see what's happening in real time. I'm going to open up another terminal. And let's just make that look good there. Okay, now we're going to do netcat, and it's 1234, I believe, was the port. Okay, and we're going to hit enter. Now, as soon as I put this rev shell in here, which we're going to do. So we got this test PHP. We want to change this to PHP -rev -shell.php, which we have there. And let me just make sure I'm hosting it. I am. Okay. When I hit enter, we get a reverse shell. And it's pretty immediate. Okay. So if we type who am I, unfortunately, we are not root. We are Rupert. So first and foremost, they put us into a regular user account. So we're going to go to cd c users Rupert, and we'll go to cd desktop, and we'll see if there's a flag there. And there is. So we type local.txt, and then there's your user flag, your user level flag. Okay. Now we have to priv-esc, right? We don't have, if I look at my rights, right, priv, I'm a lowly user. Okay, I have nothing. So what I decided to do was I was going to give WinPeas a try. I poked around a little bit, didn't see anything, you know, that stuck out to me, like just looking at everything. So I said, you know what? I'm going to run WinPeas. So let's actually close that. And let's look at this one. Kill this HTTP server because we don't need this anymore. Control C. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into, I think I have a WinPeas. Yep, cd WinPeas. And we want to do ls, and we have WinPeas 64 right here. So I'm just going to copy this. And now another HTTP, another Python web server. You're going to be doing that a lot in this, on this machine. And then we'll come back to where we are. We're in on our desktop, so we should be able to run it from here. So I'm just going to stay here, and I'm going to download WinPeas to the desktop, and I'll just run it from there. And the way you do that, cert util url cache f, and then we do http 192.168.45.181. That's obviously going to be your IP address. Don't forget the port 8000. And then it's this is why I pasted it, because I didn't want to have to. And then I'm just going to call it winpeas.exe. Okay, when we hit enter, hopefully it'll download WinPeas. Online. You are okay. Finished. And then we have WinPeas there. So now we're going to run WinPeas. And WinPeas, as always, is a great program, just like LinPeas. There's a lot to look at in here, and I'm going to admit, I got kind of lucky because I scrolled through all of this. Now there's some unquoted paths in here. There's some directories where you could run stuff, but I scrolled all the way to the bottom. Right, I got all the way down to the bottom because there's a lot of stuff here. Right, I mean to look through. Path injections. Okay, and I got down to here. And I just kept looking, and here's all of the listening ports and processes and everything. And I just kept scrolling down until I got to the bottom. And I started looking at these file permissions, right? And something at the very bottom stuck out to me. I don't know why, but right here I noticed this backup, TFTP-EXE. All access authenticated users write data, create files. That's not something you typically see in these machines. So to me, I was like, I'm going to the backup directory first and foremost. So that's exactly what I did. I went cd c backup. and I did a dir, and I saw these text files in here, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. So I did type info.txt, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. It's doing a backup to a remote server, right? Every 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, this could be the way. If I can write to this directory, I'm going to tell you right now what I'm going to do, and it should be pretty obvious at this point what I'm going to be about to tell you. I'm going to do an MS Venom payload. I'm going to create a substitution for tftp.exe that creates a reverse shell to me, to my machine. Okay? And that's what I'm going to do. That is the way, in my opinion. When I did this, I was like, I'm not 100% sure, but I said, I think this is the way. So the way to test that you can do this is I just said, well, let's rename TFTP, and I can't spell it for some reason. Let's rename that tftp.old. And it let me do that, okay? So then I did a dir, and you can see I have tftp.old there. So immediately, let's go back and go to the WinPs. We're going to kill that. We'll go to main directory here, ls. Okay. Now we're going to do, and I'm going to copy and paste this in because I don't want to have to see me struggle typing it. But I will explain every bit of it. Copy. If you've never, I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard of MS Venom. I'm sure most of you have used MS Venom, so I'm probably preaching to the choir here. But essentially what we're doing, I'm trying to avoid Metasploit, to be honest, because the OSCP, they let you use it on one machine, and I'm like, you know what, why bother? I'm just going to learn all of this stuff manually, and if I become a penetration tester, I can use Metasploit to my heart's content. Nobody cares, okay? So I have MS Venom just creating a regular Windows reverse shell, pointing to my Kali machine on 4444. The output of the file the format of the file that's going to be output is a .exe, and I want it to be tftp.exe because I want it to be the name of the executable that is running every 5 minutes on that machine. So I'm going to hit enter. Okay, and it's there. So now if we do an ls, that file is there. Once again, Python, we have to do a Python web server. And I'm going to go back to our machine here. And now I'm going to do a certutil again. These, I can't stress enough how much you should just memorize these commands because you're going to be using them constantly. Certutil, URL cache, -tacf, and then we do HTTP, and then it's 192, God, I'm sorry, I really can't type today, 168.45.181.8000 tftp.exe. Make sure that's right. Yep, tftp.exe. Now before I hit enter, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do netcat, and we're going to be listening on all fours. Come back, hit enter. All right, we do a dir. tftp.exe is there, and now we wait. Okay, it may take a few minutes because it said it was running every 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause this until we get a reverse shell. Okay, stand by. Okay, that took pretty much every bit of 5 minutes, so I'm glad I stopped the video and didn't have you guys just stand there and try to fill airtime. So as you can see, it popped a shell, and if we do who am I, who am I? We are Slort administrator. So now we can do cd users administrator desktop, and we can do dir, and we can cat proof.t. Oh, this is Windows. I'm just on a rampage today with the typing. So proof.txt, and you can see there's the root flag. So that's how we exploited this machine. I thought this machine was fun. I thought it had a lot of interesting elements to it. I'm really proud of myself for the whole PHP thing, because that is like my kryptonite. So I'm really happy that I was able to get through this machine, and it gave me hope that maybe I can potentially get pretty decent at this. So anyway, without further ado, I just want to say thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this helps you. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll include links in the comments like I always do, in the description below, I mean. And I'll see you in the next video. All right? Take care, guys. Bye.